As women, we think that we're broken, and we think our bodies are broken, and we think our sexuality is broken. This is so not true, especially when you think of all the things that women's bodies are capable of. They're capable of carrying and giving birth and feeding a new life. And this capable of having menstrual changes, hormonal changes that completely change our experience. We're also capable of deep emotional experiences, and we're capable of spiritual connection in a way that is more readily available to us than it is to men. In fact, a woman's spirituality and her power were seen to be so important and so powerful that early religions cast men into wearing dresses and skirts so that they would hopefully take on some of this feminine power. And especially when it was back in the time when men weren't seen to have anything at all to do with babies. It was thought that women could do this all by themselves before the role of sperm was actually discovered. So we are powerful, and it's important that we actually reclaim this power and not tap in to all the models, largely patriarchal in nature, that tell us that we're somehow broken. That tell us that our sexuality is broken because it's not in the masculine model. It's not continually on, and our sexuality doesn't come from a place of feeling horny necessarily and needing to go and do something with it. Around 75% of women have what is called a more responsive form of sexuality. When we actually start to get turned on, when we start to feel our pleasure, and we start to feel good in our bodies, that's when our pleasure and our desire for sex arises. It's not just this innate drive that comes up that we don't have any control of, that we need to go and do something with. That is the experience of so many men. And we've been taught that our sexual arousal is dysfunctional because of this. And we're taught that most of us fit into the category of having a female arousal disorder, simply because we're mostly normal. And we don't have the experience of feeling whole in ourselves because we're continually held up against this masculine model, which is so outdated for us as women. As we discover more of who we are and become more accepting of our bodies, we can actually discover that we're not broken. And we don't have to rely on just going to the doctor to get ourselves fixed. Women have been capable of giving birth to babies and having other women birthing us through this natural process. Yes, medicine has brought us wonderful things, but it's also brought us to a place of disempowerment and disconnection from our bodies because we're trying to fit in to that medical model. And we're taught that sex is about friction and tensing and relaxing, releasing through excitement and going for the orgasmic goal. We're not taught that it's about relaxing, opening, surrendering, deepening, and having ecstasy rise up from within us, which is more the feminine model. So we think that we're broken. And we're not taught how to manage our emotions in a positive way. The overarching belief in Western society particularly is that emotions are wrong and we need to shut them down and avoid them at all costs. And we're not seeing how to actually process them and move them through so that they come to a completion. And so as women, we're left feeling stressed the whole time. And when we're feeling stressed, our desire level, our arousal level, our ability to feel interested in sex goes down even more because we're carrying this load of all this other energy that we don't know, we don't have permission to do anything with. When all this emotional energy wants is just a space for completion, so that we get to this space of coming back to ourselves, coming home to ourselves. That's just not given a space in a lot of Western ways of thinking. And we're also taught that messiness is wrong. Women's bodies, you know, they bleed and they're wet and they're loud and they're kind of messy. And in this way, we're not always cool and in control. And this is seen as wrong. And so we start to take on, as women, this sense that our bodies are dirty, that our sexuality is dirty. I do have to say that men carry their own, even just as big, baggage of shame about their sexuality. But a woman's sexuality is shamed through the shaming of her body. Through the shaming of her body if it doesn't fit into the media and Hollywood model. And if you go to the beach anytime, you'll see that the vast majority of women don't fit into that very narrow model of what is seen to be beautiful. And so we all carry this sense of, I'm not okay inside, I'm broken somehow. And we also carry that sense of that if our bodies are wrong and sexuality is wrong, then that's a double whammy, that we must be wrong at a very deep level. There is so much, but we're not taught how to actually manage and heal our traumas and our hurts from past sexual experiences or even past emotional experiences that leave us feeling frozen or shamed or traumatized in our bodies. And so we carry this sense of, because we can't get over that and step into this, you know, amazing sexual performance, that again, we're somehow broken. So what can we do about this? Well, there is something really powerful that we can do about this. We can actually make the choice to say, no, not taking that on. I'm choosing to see my body as whole. I'm choosing to feel my body as beautiful. I'm choosing to bring compassion every time I have a thought that is negative about myself. I'm choosing to have forgiveness for myself. And I'm making a commitment to myself that I'm going to bleed out those negative thoughts. I'm going to choose ones that are more true, that are not coming from this contracted, conditioned part of me that only deserves my compassion. And in finding compassion for this part of me that is conditioned and limited, I can actually find the part of me that is whole. The part of me that knows my innate beauty and my innate worth and is able to connect to my sexual pleasure, my grounded, physical, concrete pleasure that happens in my body. And from that place, allowing myself to feel into my pleasure, and from that place, allowing my pleasure to grow and my orgasm to arise. And loving myself no matter what my sexual experience is. And being deeply, deeply more and more present. As presence and loving compassion is the way to undo all of this conditioning. And the really, really, really important thing to know about this conditioning is that it happened because the patriarchy fears the feminine power. It fears how big we can be. It fears how amazing and how powerful our sexuality is. So it has to spend all this time and all this effort shutting it down, making us afraid of it, making us afraid of our pleasure. Because if we give ourselves permission to step into our pleasure more fully, in some way we're going to be made wrong. So fuck that. Say no to our patriarchal conditioning. Say yes to ourselves. And do it from a place of not making men wrong, because they're as much a victim of this patriarchal system as we are. But coming home to our hearts and feeling our self-compassion for this part of us that's believed that we're broken or limited or wrong. And feeling that part and honoring that part, because it's had so much to carry. So much to carry. And I invite you to do this for yourselves. Feeling into all of that conditioning that you've had to carry. What's been your particular version of it? Feeling it in your heart, feeling it in your body. And once you've felt it and connected with it, acknowledged it and validated it, I invite you to breathe love into it, breathe compassion into it, breathe earth energy into it, and let it go, let it leave your body. Breathe into it and let it leave your body. Breathe into it and let it leave your body. And in this place of greater wholeness and greater clarity, I invite you to make a commitment to yourself to come from a place of love instead of self-judgment, to come from a place of compassion and a knowing that it's just our conditioning that keeps us separate from our wholeness. It's not that our wholeness doesn't exist. And spending more time connecting with this wholeness that lies within us, coming home to this part of ourselves and operating from this part of ourselves more and more each day. Every minute of every day that we can operate from this place, we become more whole. We create new neural pathways that actually allow our conditioning to become less of a part of us and our wholeness to become this new, not new because it's always been there, but this new part that we're experiencing of ourselves. That doesn't necessarily have to shout from the rooftops and fight against whatever oppression there is, but comes from this place of loving compassion and steps into an authentic power that is beyond railing at the rooftops. That is about making powerful and healthy choices for ourselves, one step at a time. And if you want to rail from the rooftops, go for it, but doing it from a place of an open heart, not doing it from a place of suffering. Doing it from a place of freedom within, so that this freedom and empowerment can be felt, can be inspiring both to ourselves and to those around us, to see that we are not choosing to be broken. We are choosing to experience our wholeness